This project is called the Cabriole Footstool, and it's due to these legs here. These are cabriole legs, and it's a little bit free form in some places. You're going to have some artistic liberty on what you want to do with the handle here, and the legs and the supports are normally made off of a pattern, and since you don't have the pattern, there's ways you could dimension it, but I'm going to show you the easiest way to make it on Inventor, and we'll just kind of fudge some of the details. Just note when you're making this in class in Woods 2, you will have a pattern to make these things, but you'll get the general idea of what this would look like by going through these videos. Alright, so let's go ahead and start. We're going to make this long piece here first. Actually, no, let's go and make one of the short rails first. So, new part file. And if you're looking off the PDF that I shared with you on your shared drive, it looks a lot like this drawing file here. And yeah, I'm just going to kind of go off of this. So let's go back to your part here. Little 2-point rectangle. And we're going to make it, looks like 10 1/4 long and 2 1/2 tall. And if we extrude that, this is supposed to be 3/4, 0.75 thick. Okay, so now we have a block of wood. We're going to lay it down on its back, and we're going to make a couple of cuts out of each corner. So this is something you'd probably take over to the bandsaw, and you'd mark it up ahead of time so you know how far in and how far over you're going to go. You just kind of chunk these out. Now, I'm not being too specific right now with these, but now let's go ahead and put in dimensions. This is supposed to be a 1/2 inch, so 0.5. And from here to here is going to be 1 13/16. Alright, so I'm not measuring out this little bit, but it's going to do that calculation for us. We also know how long these are supposed to be. We're going to cut 1 1/8 in, so 1.125. And now I'm just going to cheat. I'm going to use my equal constraint and say that these are the same length, and this is the same length as this, and this is the same length as this. Perfect. I'm also going to say that this thickness and this thickness are the same, and this are the same. Awesome. So now I only had to put in 3 dimensions for 4 different rectangles. Let's go ahead and finish our sketch. Cut. We're going to remove these 4 corners we kind of laid out ahead of time by switching this back to cut mode, and I like to change the distance to all, even though it would have cut all the way through anyway. Alright, so that part's done. Let's look at the top of this. Make a new sketch. And we're going to do something similar, but right now we don't have these showing. So let's project the geometry of the 2 little rectangles on either end. Switch to our 2-point rectangle tool. And we're going to draw in roughly... Oh, I didn't do that very well, did I? Oh, here we can use this to cheat. It's a coincident point. It's just saying that one corner has to be the same as another corner. One point has to share the same place on our XY scale as another point. That's why I like using snap points. Okay. Alright, so similar to cutting things off the side, now that we're looking at the top, we want to know how far in we have to cut, and this is 3/16, and it's going to be 3/16 from either side. So let's just make, oh, it's not going to let me highlight it. That's okay. We'll do something different. We'll say dimension between here, and I'll just click on this dimension. I'm referencing that. So now those are the same. I'm also going to reference the same dimension on this other side. And what that means is right here I set this at 3/16. If I change this to 0.25, a quarter of an inch, all of these, since they're referencing the same dimension, would change with it. But I don't want to do that. I want to leave it at 3/16. Alright, let's go and finish our sketch. We are going to extrude, cut, we're chunking these out, boom, boom, boom. Change the distance to all. And again, this is something you could probably do over on the bandsaw. But now you want to add a little miter here, 45, just to give it a, well, just to change the thickness a little bit. And I'll show you before I do this. If I go and inspect distance, this little edge right here is 0.375 long. So when I go 3D model, I'm just going to use chamfer and type in 0.375. I'm going to treat this as if I were taking over to the miter saw and just cut off a little 45-degree angle on either side of those. Alright, and now for the support on this guy, we would take this to the bandsaw. No, I'm sorry, not the bandsaw. We'd take this to the table saw, and the table saw is going to leave a kerf of 1/8 of an inch, a 0.125 gap that would leave after cutting through this. But I don't want to cut all the way through the part. I'm going to set the height of the blade to be the same height, so coincident constraint, same height as this edge here. Okay, I'm also going to set my table saw to only go in 1/4 of an inch. So 1/4 of an inch from this edge, this is how deep the cut is, or how wide the saw blade is, and then it's going to come all the way up into this little part here. So let's show what that would look like by removing this. Switch that to cut, change your distance to all, and say OK. And we're going to look at the other side over here just to kind of make it look pretty. We're going to take this over to the router, and I'm just going to show a little circular shape cutout. We're going to measure that 1/2 inch up and cut that distance of all off the back side here. There we go. Looks nice and pretty. Change the material type to wood, and let's make it birch. Save this, and you're going to call it short rail. By the way, you should have a Cabriole Footstool folder. Make sure you do this first.